When you look at the NEC reports for Q4 2023, you see that there's still a metering gap of about 7 million, 7 million customers, and some have not been metered. You also see, if you look among the 12 utility companies, you find out that only 4 of them have metered their customers 50% and above. So the question is, hey, these metered customers, these 50% of these 4, or these metered customers that the discos have, are they band A customers? Because you can imagine that customers are very sensitive, will be very sensitive, to metering, to pricing, because of the tariff hike. Now, for customers that are unmetered, they have to be billed on caps. Are the caps sufficient, for the distribution company to recover, the energy that they have consumed? Now, will this price hike incentivize, the 100% metering of band A, customers? So these, are the questions I believe we'll be talking about this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Good evening. My name is Kenny Zemeka. Well, I'm currently the Chief Business Officer of Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, but we choose not to be here on that capacity, but to be here in the capacity of Kenny Zemeka as an industry expert as a citizen of Nigeria as well, so that I can actually speak exactly the way it is, and the way, so that my regulators will not actually know that I'm a regulated person, but I am a citizen of Nigeria. So I would prefer to do that because it actually helps me so that we can communicate to us, so that we can actually make all of us understand the benefits, the advantages, what actually is the commission doing? Does it really make sense? Why the tariff increase? Okay, I choose to use the word increase actually. I hear you hear hike. When you say hike, that's crazy. That's like frightening actually. But I don't think it's a hike, it's an increase, right? So we all understand that there are certain factors that actually necessitated that made it necessary, that made it important. Again, I also speak from this perspective that, for instance, the discos do not actually want a tariff increase. I actually want to speak it that what I mean by they don't want a tariff increase is this, because what they want is that if the sellers of our product can sell it at 1 naira, we are willing to sell that product at 1 naira 50 kobo to have a margin, right? So I want to explain that it is not like we just want to increase tariff, or we want the customers or our customers to shout and cry. But the fact remains that the economy actually demands that something happen. We all are market goers here. We actually understand what's happening in the market, that it is no longer obtainable. Let me give you an instance. While I worked in a particular disco in Southeast, a customer has a fault and he calls my staff to come for rectification of the staff, right? I'm going to send a vehicle, a driver, and 2 staff to go attend to his fault, a one customer who has a meter fault, for instance, right? I send about 3 people to go attend to him. Can you actually understand the cost implication with respect to what has happened in the last 1 year, since after the fuel increase, right? The subsidy removal on fuel and all of that. So I want us to actually see things from the true perspective of what actually is obtainable, the realities. Let's not see it only from the fact that the government or the regulators or this. No, let's understand that the market person, because of the dollar rate, has to increase prices. Now, coming to, trying to just give a brief on this topic, low metering. Yes, low metering, because we've not metered. Because the discos want the actual money. They need money to actually do the real things. Infrastructural investment is not that easy. Let me also give an instance around this same thing, okay, around costs, around tariff, to actually buttress metering. I have a rural community who just needs one transformer somewhere there, and I need to construct a 20-kilometer line to give them power. And my average expectation of revenue from this rural community is about 4 million naira. And I need an average of 300 million naira to construct a 20-kilometer line. Can you just estimate the cost or number of months it's going to take me to recover my investment on that alone? So I just want us to actually understand how all of this puts together to make it necessary for us to have a cost-reflective tariff. Remember, I've earlier made a remark that, hey, the discos really do not want a tariff increase. But I think that is, invited comma. We don't really want it, but reality makes it necessary that it must be done. So meters, because of still the same matter, in fact, we were having a conversation behind there, and we said something that the meter cost prices have increased more than thrice in the last 1 year. Okay, I just want us to, reflect on that and find out how cost investment, viable it is for a disco to meter everybody. I also highlighted the fact that I did a cost analysis to meter about 250,000 customers. It gave me around 21 billion naira. Within a space of 3 months, that cost changed drastically by more than 35%. Because there is a price increase in the meters. So what I'm going to say in essence is that this is a very vital topic. It's something I think we Nigerians, the citizens of Nigeria, need to actually understand. I know there is a role we need to play in actually sensitizing the citizens enough to actually understand how these games and how this market plays out. We need to sensitize enough. I know there are different parties and members who have to play that role in trying to make us understand why it is necessary for this to happen and for that to happen. If I need to close the metering gap, I'm not going to meter. Let me give another instance so that I wrap up with that. If a man vents an average of 5,000 naira in a month, and he wants me to meter him with 88,000 naira worth of meter, what it means is that it's going to take me how many months to recover just my investment on meter, not the energy cost I'm giving him. So I just want us to have wrap our heads around these whole factors as we enter into this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny's. Most of you are wondering why I'm holding a mic that doesn't have sound. It's just for the cameras. It's not for us here. Apologies. Really want to get into the conversation, and Kenny's, I'll come back to you actually. If you own an asset that you cannot monitor how much people use, and it's on estimated billing. So for instance, I pull up to a gas station, a fuel station, I buy fuel, and they tell me, oh, our meter doesn't work, but you owe me 40,000 naira. I would look at you and say, I don't believe you. Show me the tracking. So the question is really, from a disco's point of view, I know meters cost money, but the inefficiencies, lack of meters should cost more money. So why haven't discos taken that chance and saying, you know what, I must meter because I must track my revenue?
Okay, thank you, Emeka. So, an interesting question, right? But I want to put it in this perspective. We actually do not want to estimate any customer. It might sound funny, but that is the truth, actually. We do not want to estimate any customer. We actually wish, or we believe, or we want to meter every customer in our network. But several factors have actually proven that metering is not actually the total solution to revenue assurance. I've actually done it in several places. I've actually done it in several locations. I've done what I call comprehensive metering in several places. We need beyond total complete metering. to actually solve the revenue problem. That is why actually the discos are somehow finding it difficult. And okay, I don't want to go into the dimension of liquidity to describe the fact that they need money to actually do the metering. Yes, you are trying to point out that it seems I'm going to lose money by not metering, right? But I've metered a complete feeder actually. After a certain period of metering it, I find out that I like giving practical examples. I had a metering, 100% metering activity in Woji, somewhere in River State. But after I did an energy audit in that place, I found out that I was losing more than 60% of my revenue there. I was losing more than 60%. Why? Because most of the meters, most of the customers were intentionally damaging these meters. And meters can get bad and still pass energy. Though we had I'm interested in this topic because there's a point where we talk about technology and innovation, right? So because there were a gap in the initial metering, which didn't have the comprehensive technology and innovative adaptations that will help us solve a problem. So people were bypassing the meters were getting burned, but it was still passing energy. When we did that energy audit, we found out that we were losing more. So why it sounds like we are not metering is because without adopting a high-level technology into the metering activities, we actually found out that we were losing more. That's actually the fact. That's the true situation. But we know there are better ways we can do it, which is what I think we are going to speak now. And I'm going to talk about how we have actually changed and adopted the systems and technology and innovations that will actually help us drive assurance in metering, revenue assurance in metering.
We all understand that there are certain factors that actually necessitate that made it necessary, that made it important. Again, I also speak from this perspective that, for instance, the discounts do not actually want a tariff increase. I actually want to speak it that what I mean by they don't want a tariff increase these days, or these days, because what they want is that if the sellers of our product can sell it at 1 naira, we are willing to sell that product at 1 naira to have a margin, right? So I want to explain that it is not like we just want to increase tariff, or we want the customers to shout and cry. But the fact remains that the economy actually demands that something happen. We all are market goers here. We also don't understand what's happening in the market, that it is no longer obtainable. Let me give you an instance. While I work in a particular disco in Southeast, a customer has a fault, and he calls my staff to come for rectification of the staff, right? I'm going to send a vehicle, a driver, and 2 staff to go attend to his fault. The one customer who has a meter fault, for instance, right? I send about 3 people to go attend to him. Can you actually understand the cost implication with respect to what has happened in the last 3 months since after the fuel increase, right? Subsidy removal and fuel and all of that. So I want us to actually see things from the true perspective of what actually is obtainable in reality. Let's not see only from the fact that government or the regulators of this. No, let's understand that the market person, because of the dollar rate, has to increase prices. Now, coming to try to just give a brief on this topic. Low metering. Yes, low metering because it will not be done. Because these schools want the actual money. They need money to actually do the real things. Infrastructural investment is not that easy. And let me also give an instance around these same things, okay, around costs, around terrain, to actually address metering. I have a rural community who just needs one transformer somewhere there. And I need to construct a 20-kilometer line to give them power. And my average expectation of revenue from this rural community is about 4 million naira. And I need an average of 300 million naira to construct a 20-kilometer line. Can you just estimate the cost or number of months it's going to take me to recover my investment on that area? So I just want us to actually understand how all of this puts together to make it necessary for us to have a cost reflective tariff. Remember, I earlier said when they did my that they really do not, this was really do not want a direct increase. But I think that is invited power. We don't really want it, but reality makes it necessary that it must be done. So, meters, because of still the same matter, we were having a conversation behind them, and we say something that the meter cost prices have increased more than thrice in the last 1 day. Okay, I just want us to reflect on that and find out how cost investment viable it is for the disco to meter everybody. I also highlighted the fact that I did a cost analysis to meter about 250,000 customers, gave me around 21 billion naira. In the space of 3 months, that cost changed drastically by more than 35% because there is a price increase in meters. So what I'm going to say makes sense is that this is a very vital topic. It's something I think we Nigerians, citizens of Nigeria, need to actually understand. I know there is a role we need to play in actually sensitizing the citizens enough to actually understand how these games are, how this market plays out. We need to sensitize enough. I know there are different parties and members who have to play that role and trying to make us understand why it is necessary for this to happen and for that to happen. If I need to close the metering gap, I'm not going to meter. Can we give another instance so that we're not with that? If a man vents an average of 5,000 naira in a month, and he wants me to meter him, it's 8,000 naira worth of meter. What it means is that it's going to take me how many months to recover just my investment on meter, not the energy cost I'm giving. So I just want us to have wrap our heads around this whole factor as we enter into this. Thank you.
Thank you. Those of you are wondering why I'm holding a mic that doesn't have sound, it's for the cameras. It's not for us here. Apologies. Really want to get into the conversation, and please, I'll come back to you actually. If you own an asset that cannot monitor how much people use, and it's on estimated bill. So, for instance, I go to a gas station, at a fuel station, I buy fuel, and meter doesn't work, but you owe me 40,000 naira. I will go back to you and say, I can believe you, show me the tracking. So the question is really, from a discourse point of view, I know it has cost money, but the inefficiency, lack of this cost should cost no money. So why hasn't discourse taken that chance and saying, you know what, I must do that because I must track my revenue?
So, an interesting question, right? But I want to put it in this perspective. We actually do not want to estimate any customer. It might sound funny, but that is the truth. We do not want to estimate any customer. We actually wish, or we believe, or we want to meter every customer in our network. But several factors have actually proven that metering is not actually the total solution to revenue assurance. I've actually done it in several places. I've actually done it in several locations. I've done what I call comprehensive metering in several places. We need beyond total complete metering to actually solve the revenue problem. That is why actually the discourse are somehow finding it difficult. And I don't want to go into the dimension of fluidity, to describe the fact that they need money to actually do the metering. Yes, you are trying to point out that it seems I'm going to lose money by not metering, right? But I've metered a complete feeder actually after excellent period of metering. I find that I like giving practical examples. I had a metering, 100% metering activity in Moji, somewhere in River State. But after I did an energy audit in that place, I found out that I was losing more than 60% of my revenue there. I was losing more than 60%. Why? Because most of the meters, most of the customers were intentionally damaging these meters. And meters can get bad and still pass energy. Though we had I'm interested in this topic because there's a point where we talk about technology and innovation, right? So, because there were a gap in the initial metering, which didn't have the comprehensive technology and innovative adaptations that help us solve the problem. So, people were bypassing the meters were getting involved, but it was still passing energy. When we did that energy audit, we found out that we were losing more. So, why it sounds like we are not metering is because without adopting a high-level technology into the metering activities, we actually found out that we were losing more. That's actually the fact. That's the true situation. But we know there are better ways we can do it, which is what I think we're going to speak now. And I'm going to talk about how we have actually changed and adopted systems and technology and innovation that will actually help us drive assurance in metering, revenue assurance in metering. Like I said earlier, metering is different and metering does not guarantee revenue assurance. But doing what the things we need to do in metering can now assure revenue. Thank you.
That's really interesting. I'll push back a little bit. So the meters in this example you gave of river states didn't work because people were intentionally breaking the meter, right? So if you had the technology to detect innocent behavior, would that have solved that issue? I know when people are things are billing and you get meters, their consumption goes down because they're now seeing the real cost of power. But after a while, it'll be back up. So those two factors, containing those two factors, would that have changed the pilot situation you mentioned in reverse states?
Definitely. But in addition to that, you see, technology does one particular thing for us. What technology does, or this innovation does for us, is to actually help us detect a theft faster than we would have done it manually. Okay, so what I tell customers is this: I say, come on, if you bypass my meters, I'm going to find out. But it will take me 2 years, it will take me 1 year. That is why we come back to you and we are caught on energy theft, we back bill you, right? Though we have a regulator who is going to tell us certain number of modes we shouldn't go beyond. But if it takes me 1 year because I'm manually doing this, now if I adopt technology, it's going to do something wonderful for me. It's going to help me find out that this guy, rather than taking 1 year or 6 months, it's going to take me 2 weeks. It's going to take me 1 week, right? Because there are going to be notification alarms to tell me that certain meters that I installed in social location was actually taking certain number of energy. That notification alone does something for me. It makes me move fast, send my team, who are my field team, to visit that customer to actually find out that this energy drop in consumption is as a result of this guy being energy management efficient, right? Now this guy has got new appliances, has thrown away the old ones that used to take more energy. And again, I want to actually mention this, that Nigerians, we are not quite energy management efficient. We don't think about it. But I tell hoteliers, because my analysis have shown that I have like 85% of hotels have at least bypassed my meters once in all the places I've worked. I've worked in more than 40 schools, so I can show you because I've headed the revenue protection unit in several locations, right? So having adopted technology, there is something again that needs to be done to help us solve a bigger problem, right? If I just get someone, stole my energy, and I actually just treat him, hey, billing him 500,000 naira backwards for the energy loss he used, right? That ends the story. So we need to move to the next one. I don't know whether I'm being fast enough in that, but I'm trying to say that we must criminalize energy itself and take it beyond just the newspaper activity. Take it beyond that. Actually tell my take it beyond that. We need to criminalize energy itself. And so I don't want to actually talk beyond what I should actually talk about here. But the fact remains that we must criminalize energy itself beyond the mail works. Yes, it should be there. We should act on it. We should work it out. We shouldn't just say that it is already an accident. I don't know, I'm trying to say that we should go beyond the normal talk about energy itself. That people start feeling, being afraid of stealing energy. They do not see it as a normal thing, you just bypass a meter. You didn't just bypass a meter, sir. You stole energy, you're a criminal. So when we get to that point, it becomes something very interesting for everybody. And then I think the discourse will go on. Then
That's an interesting statement. All right, so as a lawyer and as someone to understand how the legal system works, give us a brief on just why energy theft, why people are still stealing energy, and why that raises harsher ramifications.
Thank you, Emeka. Before I answer that question, I want to just draw a picture in your mind of what a meter is. So while you see this meter as something that measures the energy use, from the perspective of a distribution company, it's like your till. Your till, if you're selling a shop, where do you put your money? So your meter is your till box. And the same attention and focus that you put, if you are receiving, it's just like your POS, for example. So if you have a shop you're selling, you will know who you will put in charge of that till. You will not put somebody that is not responsible. And then you will be monitoring that till box to ensure that, are the receipts coming in, as expected, you will be doing reconciliations. We need to draw that analogy to what is happening in the power sector and the treatment of distribution companies of their meters. So meters, as Kami said, they're not the all-in-all solution, right? So if you have a meter, then you must police the meter. And I'm using my words very intentionally. So you don't have a meter and you hand it as, okay, I'll see you in 2 years. No. In fact, the customer protection regulation now says, at the least on a monthly basis, you should monitor. So would you put your till box in somebody's hand and not check? You should go and check and ensure, is this meter working? Is it reading properly? Is it faulty? Because as a utility, you are already aware that this piece of equipment, sophisticated though it may be, can allow energy to pass through without any units being on the meter. So it's important that, number one, you police those meters. Number two, metering is part of a system of infrastructure. So when you have a meter, it's not just the meter, you want to link it up with what is called advanced metering infrastructure, which Anish mentioned, that you are able to see what is going on. For example, there are different ways you can actually look at that. You can, if you have smart meters that are linked to AMIs, the advanced metering infrastructure, then it's able to notify you when there's any unlawful activity going on the meter. And it also allows you to send messages to that meter to even disconnect it if need be. Now, is there a cost to it? Certainly there is a cost to it. But because of what you stand to potentially do, why not? The other thing I'm going to mention here is also on the issue of revenue assurance is collaborations. So it is possible that the distribution company may not have the funds directly to be able to provide meters for all these customers. So it must do so systematically. And now this systematic process, you can bring in third parties who are willing to invest in the sector, invest in the utility through franchising, through investment in electricity networks, so that there's one of the business models under the franchising, which is called metering, billing, and collection. And so under that guideline, which the regulator allows you to tweak, you can also come get a partner who is going to invest in the metering of a particular area for you, whether a feeder, whether a location, and ensure that the place is 100% metered. And you come to an agreement, you have to get it approved by the commission on how that person will be paid. So that is one of the initiatives. Now, coming to the legal side. Energy theft is criminalized under the Penal Code, under the Criminal Code, under the Miscellaneous Offences Act, and very recently under the Electricity Act that was passed in 2023. There's a whole section under the Electricity Act 2023 that talks about offences and penalties from energy theft to vandalism to harassment or assault of disco staff. So there's a whole section that deals with it. In fact, interestingly, in my previous life, when I worked with the utility, we pioneered the first task force on electricity offences. And part of what we had to do, we got quite a number of convictions then, but we discovered that because the magistrates and the judges were coming across this for the first time, it was a bit difficult initially securing convictions because many of them were not familiar with electricity-related offences. And one of the things we had to do as a DISCO was to arrange knowledge sharing sessions with the law enforcement agencies, with the judicial officers, magistrates and judges. We did, I think, in Abuja and also in Kogi State on electricity offences, where we brought to their attention the provisions of the Penal Code and the Criminal Code and the Miscellaneous Offences Act on what is an electricity offence and what are the sentencing requirements. Now, we were able to secure convictions. However, we found that the judges were a bit reluctant, to impose for example, if it's 5 years, the maximum sentence, most of them tended to veer closer to not more than 2 years. You would not see them impose a maximum sentencing. And you would also find, that many times the sentencing was given with an option of fine. So sometimes that option of fine is like a slap on the wrist, because, hey, I'll pay the money and, but you have a conviction. It was a start, certainly a start in the right direction, but those infrastructure, the structures are already in place for criminalizing offences. Of course, what can help accelerate these offences? You talk about mobile courts because you want to make it, while it's fresh, soon after the action has been discovered, for the customer to be made to face the consequences. So not having to go through an extended, process of, going to court multiple days, before a decision is taken. So for me, I would suggest accelerated hearing, mobile courts, would help, the process of increasing the number of convictions. Of course, also publicizing those who have been convicted. So you may not be aware, but people have been convicted for energy theft. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you. Okay, so really, people have been convicted for energy theft. Why haven't the discourse publicized those and used them as an example?
So some discourse have publicized, at least while I work with the utility, I did see in the publications but is there room for more to be done? Certainly there is room for more bringing it to the awareness of customers. Not just that people have been convicted, but making them aware that this thing is a criminal offense and that if you are caught stealing energy, these are the consequences. And what utility companies also need to do is also to set up the structure. Initially, when I was in the utility and we had this task force, it was an interagency task force. We had people from NSCDC, we had Ministry of Justice, as part of it, and the Nigerian Police Force. Now, there's also a cost to it. Because although this is the responsibility of these agencies, you must support them financially. Yes, I'm putting it well. So, if you don't support them financially, those cases will not go anywhere. Yeah, so if you are in this, and I would also say that the school that is also prosecuting electricity offences must also be claiming the losses that the amount of money that suffers energy loss. That will incentivize them certainly to do more. Because on this cost level, if the customer is going to pay me how much I owe, I don't want to go through that process, that lengthy process of prosecution, judicial process. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving into the metering gap, because that's one of the issues we wanted to discuss. We have a 40% number as far as how many customers actually have meters. So the last quarter reports that around 7 million do not have meters, which is quite a lot. And if we get into the details further, that number is probably 10 million because of the way some residential set up to are made in Nigeria. So it means what's since you work with several utilities, what are some of the strategies that are in place now to try to close that gap? Since you stated that the metering gap is something that you guys are looking to close.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. So, metering gap closure is a necessity for all businesses. They can do without it. They must and they should close the metering gap. But referencing our topic today and bringing up the fact that we're talking about 206 naira currently from previous 225 as a new tariff for particular customers, I can assure you that almost all of the districts, most of the districts rather, have brought out a strategy to make sure that at least the band A guys, the metering gap existing there is closed. I can give you that in the next 3 months, no disco will be happy that any of the band 8 customers are on meter. Because, imagine that. No one wants to lose a kilowatt hour of 206, right? You don't want to lose it. So the best you can do is actually go out there and get the money. Like there is an assurance now. So I want to put it out here again that cost-reflective tariff has an impact. That is the impact. That your investors, everyone wants to show interest. Oh, this is interesting. This is something to go in for, right? Because once you meter rightly, so there is something I call comprehensive metering, not just metering. Because sometimes some of the discos have made the mistake of just metering. If you just meter, you're making a mistake. You have to meter comprehensive and end-to-end metering. That is the best thing any disco should do. So, and I can tell you that most of them, especially for the band A customers, are doing that. They are doing a special enumeration. They are doing a special, rehabilitation and analysis on the band A customers to make sure that not just that they are metered, that they have actually reliability. Because what has happened in the last few weeks is that all the guys who have less than the expected availability on band A, and they don't come back. They are coming to not in the club. They are coming back at the business, right? Because in fact, a customer did analysis and showed us an average of 18 hours instead of 20 hours for a period. There are days it had 24 hours, right? There are periods it had that. But he came back to us and said, no, I saw only 18 hours on the average. you guys agree it's an average, right? So the average I had less than 20 hours, so you're going to inform me. So I can tell you that the tariff increase has more advantage than disadvantage because it is making the disco sit, stand on their toes to go get the work done. The metering, I can assure you, for the planning customers. Strategies are in place. People are, in fact, discos are going to the bank now because the banks are interested. People are getting interested to make sure that. So, what I mentioned about comprehensive metering is that they wouldn't just want you to throw the meters into the space, right? They want you to, where are you metering? Where is the bandwidth feeder? Where is the bandwidth customer? So once you do that, we did that analysis a few weeks back, and I think we started actually. So every disco one will close that gap. So on that regard, the bandwidth will be closed, then we move to bandwidth anyway.
Thank you, Felix. So, okay, from your time at the utility, you saw a number of metering initiatives happening, and and a bunch of other ones that are still in place or in place or updated. So these initiatives, most of them did not work or did not have the impact that you were supposed to. If you were now the person in charge of metering in that space, what strategy do you put in place to close this issue gap?
Okay, better. So I've already mentioned some of them, and I will just reiterate them starting with the first one is I will leverage on the franchising regulations because that allows people to partner with me. I think the most basic of the franchising regulations is metering media connection, which allows you to franchise a particular area to a sub-franchisee who will be responsible for metering all the customers within that cluster. But it's not limited to the cluster, it can also extend into a feeder and say, oh, this is a band A feeder. I have these number of band A feeders. Out of these band A feeders, this number are metered, this number are not metered. On metered feeders, how soon can I get somebody to assist me to meter all the band A feeders? And the next question for any investor is, how do I get my money out? Because I think that's one of the major challenges that we've had in the investment community sector, especially with the escrow arrangement, which requires, which has prescribed a waterfall of payments of this is how, when a disclosed revenue comes in, this is who should be paid first: CBN, VAT, ONEM, and OPEX of the disclosure. So there's a long list of priority creditors that are waiting on the invoice of on the revenues of the distribution company. And so I would say, okay, I want to go into a franchise agreement with the distribution company, but I would request approval from the commission for a secondary escrow account to be set up for that arrangement, so that I don't have to wait. Looking at it from the point of view of the investor, I don't have to wait on if I'm looking at it from the perspective of utility, the investor does not have to wait until I have paid all these priority creditors, before they can get paid. So for me, I would leverage, the provisions of franchising and also investment in the DCA network. But it is crucial, to set up a framework that allows these investors, to be paid. There is also a fund called the Meter Acquisition Fund, which the distribution companies are waiting, to be able to access. The funds have been accumulated, from the disco revenues, which is also part of the waterfall. So I will be knocking at my regulators' doors, asking them to allow me to access this visa acquisition fund so that I can use it to meter my customers. So just as some initiatives that I will pursue to ensure that we do that is closed. But starting from those higher consumers, those larger power users,
able to deliver power system.
Thank you. And before I come to the audience, I have one more question for you. You mentioned end-to-end metering, and part of that structure could be around making sure you have meters at the feeder level all the way down to the customer level to ensure you have energy accounting going on. Why move to this group not to do that? It doesn't make sense because if you just give the customer a meter and then you don't see the flow down the road, you don't know what they're actually consuming in that whole street, just go pocket by pocket. But if you have feeder meter at the end, you have visibility from 100 kilowatt hour was sent here, and my meters have shown that only 95 is being put, so 5 kilowatts is lost. And to have that, you now have the visibility to know where that 5 kilowatts went. Why don't most places do that?
So for me, I'll talk in this manner because what is interesting is that what I mentioned, like when I mentioned comprehensive metering, it actually goes beyond feeder meters, heating meters, distribution transfer meters, and then the customer meters. What I mean by that is that these codes are actually in this understanding of some of them. You come to an apartment, and then you get every flat or every duplex, every apartment in that place meter, and then you leave out the maybe gateman house or one PQ somewhere and all of that. So that's a major. In fact, what happens is that experience has shown that that is actually the bypass point for everybody. You can actually assume that you meter that apartment, right? But we left the gate house on meter without an account. So this goes come and say he doesn't have an account. As a result, he wouldn't meter the gate house. He wouldn't meter the small, the pumping machine. In fact, someone called me this evening, they didn't meter the small when they did metering in that place, right? So the discos now running to the disconnected the small and they not pumped water in the last few days. So what is interesting is that the disco thing is not part of what they should do. But for you to actually do comprehensive metering, you must close in on every gap. Make sure that the wire, that the connection, entering any premise, any apartment, they are all metered. Everywhere is closed out. You might assume, oh, I don't have an account. Don't actually come from the point I don't have an account here. Meter every outlet, meter every point. It is to your advantage. Yes, I understand. So one of the problems is the discos, meter. When they actually come, like you said something that will have a 7 point something million metering gap, but in reality we could be having 10 million metering gap actually. Because in the discos database, they only have like 400,000 metered customers. But in reality, when you do what I'm trying to tell you right now, right, to do the comprehensive metering, that disclosed metering gap of 500 becomes 700,000. So that extra 200,000 customers, they didn't factor it in their brain that these guys should be metered. So it limits them in actually carrying out a comprehensive metering. And I can tell you it's a major blow in the metering activity. What happens that apartment, you find out that some people actually look into the gate's house and have their power. So they will just be charging, 5,000 naira into your meter and you become, well, with the technology we're talking about, right? Something better is happening that we could actually spool out something. So I remember when we started. So the residents and the customers know that what we use coming for any details offender is a non-vended list. So when you know what they do is that somebody must vend. So some people actually vend 500 naira. So some people vend 1,000 because they know that the only instrument the discos have is the non-vended list. The guys who haven't vended in the last 3 months, the guys who haven't vended in the last 6 months. So these goes come with that premises. But now with the technology and innovation, we actually narrow down to your meter usage. I remember a time we had a system malfunction in our vending system. We could actually view your your credit usage. That enabled us to actually clear the credit, to actually know who actually is not using the credit. Because sometimes customers can actually buy credits, but they don't actually use it because they are bypassed. Since they know that the Disco's only instrument is vended list. So I think technology has a lot of doing. So the Disco's, that fear of increasing the budget, they accounted customers from 500 to 700,000. You meet them from carrying out that comprehensive mission, which is very critical to solving the revenue assurance problem.
Thank you. So let's go to the audience for some questions. We don't have microphones, so please you can stand up and just raise your hand, and I'll call on you. Speak loudly so the panelists can hear you. Any questions? All right, I see one over here. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Hope you can hear me. My name is Steve Software. I'm just a consumer, and it's more of a commentary. I find that this panel is a bit biased towards there isn't representative of the consumer panel. That's just a comment. And my question would then go to the panelists. I've always been interested in electricity theft and motivation. I just wanted to, from someone more experienced and you feel like I made a general rule of thumb that most of those that even engage in it are you mentioned things like hotels, maybe those for commercial reasons, but I've seen households who I feel can afford to pay their bills, who still go all the way to bypass the meter. I always try to question the motivation, and I wanted to hear from you what are you seeing in the field, and mostly what is the motivation for people to do it. I think maybe because it's electricity seen as public good, or otherwise. I just want to hear from your perspective, and of course, my comments about why representative for the consumer is not defined. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other question? There's one, let's go to the back first, I'll go back, and then we'll come to the gentleman in the middle. Go ahead.
My name is Larry Thomas. I'm an energy lawyer and banker. So my question goes to this candidates. A while back, NEX announced on their LinkedIn that they collaborated with AEDC to produce or to manufacture a power outage reporting system for consumers to report their own data as to power availability in their homes. And when I went through it, they also said that's just the pilot. It was going to expand to other districts. But till now, I haven't heard anything about it. I don't know anybody who has used that power outage reporting system. I've tried to download and check for it online. I haven't seen any trace of it. So I don't know if you have any useful information about that. Also, I'd like to give a slight conclusion concerning what Mr. Jumoke said earlier, that judges always seem to give an option of fine. I want to tell the Disco again, because it's a kind of Disco representative here, that unless you carry your consumers along and give them proper information as to the cost implication of your services to them, the judges are also consumers and will definitely share sentiments with them. That's why you can have the instances whereby they kind of money and their sentencing and penalties to offenders.
Thank you. We'll go to the gentleman right here.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. All protocols observed. My name is Mr. Wanji, businessman, and a member of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Actually, this but mine is a contribution, not a critique. But you should understand that in most of these discos, like in Abuja, for instance, there's this cluster of hotel owners, think Popa, and also industrial cluster. Sometimes we don't understand the policies that we have. Sometimes they have maybe people in there who are their leaders who may go into the discos, they don't actually enlighten them that increase electricity intensity is a problem. So if you work more with most of these consumer groups, and also encourage them to give incentives to their members that okay, if you're caught by passing, maybe remove you from groups or things like that, actually help the customer understand this thing about electricity. Because I've also done audits, I've also spoken to some of them. When you speak to them, they discover to tell you what per saying this. I said, okay, what per saying this? What is it? The display is actually saying this, neck is actually saying this. You discover that communication gap that is actually in the industry. I think I should look into that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Don't hear from someone first.
So, I think I remember the first question. My friend, I think when I started, I actually did a disclaimer that I'm actually standing in here for us. Actually did that. I said I'm standing in here for us as a citizen of Nigeria. Okay, so don't be afraid. We're all here together. Because, well, I'm an LGT actually. I can actually categorically tell you that the increase, I think call it increase, well, it's not easy economically for each and every one of us. I've had about 3 separate meetings, in the Senate actually today. They are all about the increase. So I was discussing with the senator. I said, you're the federal government, sir. Can you actually do something about this? Because this increase, I'm actually not happy about. Like I said earlier, right? This goes don't work. Let me tell you, every increase is another burden on the disco to match the previous met collection efficiency. Every increase. So for every increase, you have a task of making sure that you actually maintain your last collection efficiency. It's not easy. Our staff go out there, it's actually a big problem, a big war, because the guy is angry and you're increasing tariff. Without understanding that you're not actually imposed the one who increased the tariff, but it's the economy that increased the tariff. So we are all electricity users and we are actually represented as a share. Then again, you made a comment with respect to why do people impose steel energy. Now, I can tell you, you are right. All over the places I've been to, actually the big users who actually steal energy because they actually have something to steal. So the average guy actually have little or no appliances that actually consume energy. So it's actually, I don't want to mention names of estates, names of locations, names of industrial clusters that are for the high bro guys, right? That's where they steal energy actually. So because they actually have this nature of protected estate. So what happens is that before I enter your estate, I need to call the president of Nigeria. That's the truth. Before they will open the gates for me to access, to check my equipment. So what I did lately is that I have to sign an agreement with that estate who wants me because diesel is no longer, they can't purchase diesel because estates that were big estates were doing dual power source, right? So the power source arrangement was working until diesel became something you can manage. So they all want the single power source, okay, and they fixed into that properly. So they now want to be debugged, okay? So I'm no longer going to meter them from the central point. I want to meter the individuals. I ask them, please, put in this letter you're writing to me that you will give me direct access, unrestricted access to enter your estate at any time I choose to come around to check my equipment. Jonathan says something that we should police our equipment, right? So we're actually doing that. But I can tell you that without the technology we talked about earlier, it's still not easy. I'm not going to mount all my staff. I'm not going to produce 1.3 million staff to station at every residence customer's premises, monitoring when that guy is going to come by 12 midnight to hook up, on the line. I'm not going to do that. It's not possible. So with the technology coming in, they're only going to help me that this guy's energy drops But by 7 p.m., that guy has a shot in energy. Instead of when he peak, the energy drops. That they don't even help you do that. So the big guys are actually the guys who steal because somehow, the gate man is at the gate, right? Tells your guy is not around. And that have told us not to open the gate to anybody. No, that what happens actually. So it becomes a big problem for us. And can I tell you, some extent, I'm actually trying to relocate my meters to points where I can easily access it without needing to knock on your gate. But they say, you're going to deface our estate. You will deface our estate, don't do it here, we don't take it, and they will actually take us to court. They will write to our commission and tell, hey, to warn these guys, they are messing up our estate. Yes, I'm telling you, I have, a couple of those letters. So it's actually, I just want us, like, somebody mentioned that we should communicate more. I think this goes, we need to communicate more. We need to make the customers, the residents understand what we go through to be able to actually collect this money to meet up our market obligations. Thank you.
Okay, very interesting comments and discussions. For sure, that issue of enlightenment is very important. For one, the sector is very dynamic, very dynamic, evolving every day. Regulations are being issued, some regulations are being abrogated. So it is important, for the sector, for the schools to continue, to enlighten customers on their rights, on their responsibilities, on their obligations. Whilst there is a customer protection regulation, I find out that when people are not really willing to read, even within the sector, they don't talk of those that are outside. And for some people, they find the terminology a bit too technical. There are lots of new words, that you have to learn. I'll give you an example of this, the current trend on Pansett. When people are claiming that it's not bad that I'm here on Pansett. There's no bad on Pansett. But you know that you're a customer that is asking you and saying, am I on Pansett? Is complaining that I'm not receiving any energy at all. Whether 4 hours, I'm not even receiving any energy. Go back to my own. So there is a need. Certainly, I agree, that we must, in the sector, there's a need for continuous enlightenment, even of the judges who are very learned. The other thing I'd like to say is that there are some things that are within the control of the distribution company utility, but there are some things that are not within their control. For example, the things that impact on the tariff, the cost of gas is not within the control, the cost of FX is not within the control. And so, while this hike is very significant, you just imagine a shop owner who is running their business. They want to be able to pass through the prices of their production, their costs. It will be a challenge for you to run a business and to sell one certain loss. So that is the analogy, is that one has to provide to those who are very concerned about the loss. But if you want to, the other thing you also say is, are you self-benefiting? So this tariff hike is huge. If you are using a generator, then you are. Thank you.
Excellent. Before I come back to the audience, I think there's an legal question that we still haven't answered. And yes, so the conversation is really around if power is a business or is it a social enterprise. Some people feel that power is one of those things that is just like water, it's just like healthcare, everyone should have access to it. But the fact that it's privatized and the government wants it to subsidize, they should bring money, real money, not deferred payments of money, payments of money to be able to make up for whatever the shortfalls are. But in the long run, what's clear to everyone here is we can't run the sector the way it's been running. In 11 years, I was talking about 4,000 new generation is only Azure and that's what 400. The rest of them, nothing has come on great. So I think there's really needs to be some thinking on how the sector is supposed to work. There was a question here, and okay, go ahead. And one thing.
Sorry, can everybody hear me? Yeah. So, very loud. Yeah. So I had a comment, short of question to the audience. So we've been talking about issues with sensitization, continuous sensitization, and I wanted to re-echo that point. Right, we've had a tariff issue that nobody understands what the framework for that tariff issue is, and the bulk of the people that are paying for this tariff are consumers. Right, so you could justify the tariff saying that it's needed. The question is it cost reflective? Right, what are the indicators driving the cost tariff? The tariff, right? And is there a guarantee that if you get this funds, that the disco would remit what is necessary to provide? Because there's been issues and concerns about the disco getting the funds, and a huge portion of the monies goes towards their operation, right? So there has to be a sensitization and engagement with consumers and every stakeholder across the sector to inform them on what forms the tariff. Where is the tariff going? The part of the tariff goes back to generators, to the fuel producers, all across. They need to be sensitized. Another thing is to ensure that incentives are also provided with penalties, right? So the consumer groups that are going to be sensitized, where are the regulations, where are the policies, what are the structures that make sure that you provide incentives for groups that are actually doing the work, because the disco cannot do it alone by itself. So you can empower other stakeholders to do it, provide incentives, whether it's backed by legislature or not. Provide incentives and also penalties. Question is, to what extent can technology be used to reduce your operational costs, right? Remote monitoring. Can you have a situation where you can sit at your table and you can monitor all the meters so that you don't have to necessarily go to meters to see or to assess what's the spending and what the consumption is? Because you have the data at the feeder level, you have the data at the meter level, so you can do your analysis and you can come back with empirical evidence when you're going to confront your consumers. So those are my thoughts and the question that I had, right? What extent are we doing? To what extent are you doing to sensitize and engage customers on components of your tariff?
Thank you. There's a question here in white.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tofi. First, I think I share the sentiment of the previous speaker as regards the composition of the panel, because I like to see myself as anti-discourse. We have good discourse here. But in any event, then I know there are, in any event, the pro-disco part of me is that I support cost-reflective tariff, I support liberalized market. But my problem has always been timing. Also, sometimes when you read in classroom and you talk about principles, people will tell you investment in downstream or midstream energy sector before you can start making profit. Talk of 10 to 15 years, that are long term. So I don't think any disco has been around for that long to start talking about making consistent profit as it were. I wouldn't know the dynamics of the Nigerian market authoritatively, because I know most of these principles are handed down to us, just the way the organization is. Now, but my question is, you just confirmed the generation capacity, which has always been, it's always been around that 4,000, 5,000, 4,000, 5,000. So how does this band A classification work exactly? In the sense that if you share 5,000 megawatt amongst the whole of us in Nigeria, for instance, and we struggle to get, say, 10 hours. Now, if you're giving some people 24 hours, isn't that plunging some multitude elsewhere into perpetual or eternal darkness? I wouldn't know how it works. Then the other part of my question is, I'm a lawyer actually, so I just look at some of these things from the law and the policy for what is permissible. I'm aware of the provision of the Electricity Act that imposes a duty on a transmission company that to provide non-discriminating services to consumers, discos, and all of that. So if you're giving some people 20 hours at a fee, some people less than that, which you don't even have control of, I can't decide to say, I'm in band C now, I want to go to band A, liberal, just like that. To Madam Delano now, isn't that band stratification discriminatory, offending that particular provision of the law? Thank you.
Thank you. There's a question back here. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ernest, and I have a couple of stuff I want to address. So I would like to start to build on the last speaker there, and we was talking about smart metering. I think that basically the approach for the discos, because I mean smart meters have always been available for a very long time, and I think that discos has just been more or less a situation of penny wise, pound foolish, because we had these smart meters a long time ago, which should have been deployed, and then the issue of cutting down costs, I think as to your team members always running diesel or visiting houses and checking their meters, this should have been done a long time ago. And so if you started with a very analog meter and then in less than 10 years, you're already changing meters to smart meters, I think that when we're talking about efficiency, it's really not so wise when we have done it so many years back. And also the fact that the discos are really not thinking in the long term, because while there are a lot of renewables coming in now, I would also ask how you intend to address that, because right now there are issues of bimodal meters where people that have solar panels generate energy from their roofs and then transmit to the grid. Yeah, maybe our grid is not yet there, but I believe that we should look at in terms of future approaches, right? And then again, the issue of band classification. I think I feel that it's kind of a lazy approach as to electrifying Nigeria, because again, as the last speaker said, the whole classification and stratification of people, providing this person more light and then the other person less, shouldn't really be. I think that if we do a lot of work, if we go back, sit down and do our work well, we should be able to find investors and that will actually help us electrify the whole Nigeria. The reason is because if we don't do that and then we continue to focus on a small group of people, for example, the band A, then the revenue that we need may not be enough. So I think right now we have about only 45% of Nigerians that are metered, if I'm correct. So I believe that if you increase the metering, if you do all you can, find investors, do all you can, smart meters, do all you can to invest in metering and do everything possible to meter people, then you increase your revenue, because on the part of consumers, for example, the situation of the country doesn't really favor anyone for extra cost already. The cost people are bearing in terms of this increase, fuel increase, this and that is already a lot on the part of the customers, and then you're coming up with electricity increase as well, So lastly, I think I want to also talk about the issue of low metering. So my concern basically is that if there is a low metering, right, then the money we're talking about, the revenue that we should get, would not be enough again to take care of the discos. And then the issue of the issue of cost of generating electricity. I think in developed countries they
they make long-term contracts where, for example, the price of gas, they try to come up with a contract where they hedge to a certain price and then for at least a year or two, depending on what the case is, the price remains the same. I mean, in Nigeria, we have the oil, we have the gas. So I don't see why the prices of fuel and all of this should be affecting electricity generation because there are so many ways of producing this electricity. Yeah, but dollar one may say, right? But we have the fossil fuel locally in Nigeria. So I think that if we're able to work and partner with the what's it called now? The producers, right? And the refineries and all of that to get constant supply, some of these things would not be the problem. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Let's start with this.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm going to speak from the discriminatory comment about the banding system or banding program. The truth is this, so I want you to understand this whole stuff from this perspective. Like they say, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step, right? So we need to place our step. We need to start somewhere. We are telling you that not just about the generation, there are some infrastructural problems that needs to be solved in our sector in business, right? So the commission now says, okay, can increasing tariff for a certain class or a certain set of people help the schools invest appropriately so that in 6 months, in 2 years' time, you can say, okay, this certain class of people, their power situation is resolved. That this class of people, they are sure that, even like this 20-hour stuff of an A is just there. What we want to do, or what the commission intends to do, is to achieve 24-hour supply. That's the intention. That's what it should be. But there is need for investing. Now, increasing that stuff, you're going to see that in the next 1 year, in 2 years' time, for all these people in Bangladesh, their problems are solved. They can post that and say, they can come back anytime in their house and they play the switch and there is power. They don't need to think about, do I have a fuel in my generator, the diesel is not there, and all of that. That's, I think, and I believe, and I know is what the commission is working towards, right? To do that, because, there are some certain projects you will have, you have to put them in phases, right? So it's like, phase A, solve this guy's problem. Phase B could actually come faster than you think, right? So it could come back in the next 6 months, and the commission says, in fact, okay, I don't even want to say it. After certain period of time, like you said, it sounds discriminatory, right? And another question came up. The generation is low, and we're giving some certain people certain powers, right? Is it not shortchanging another set of people, right? So the commission actually came up with that and said, no, they actually paid attention beyond the back of that and made sure that the guy I promised 16 hours, I meet up with the 16 hours available. So if you notice in the last few weeks, there have been some significant change or improvement imposed. It may not be what we all expect, but I think something is happening in the last few weeks. Generation was a big problem and all of that. Okay? In fact, at the time they were trying to keep discos a higher location more than they actually worked on. The generation was coming up. So certain things can happen. So I can assure you that it is just like, we want to build 1,000 blocks, but we want to lay the first one. I think that's what it is. We cannot serve everybody and solve all the problems at the same time. We must start somewhere. I don't know that that's certified an idea we have about this discriminatory in the banding stuff. We must start somewhere and we must wrap it up. We must move ahead. I can actually tell you that we have a plan that everybody should have power. Yes, it's taking us longer time. I also recognize the fact that somebody makes a comment about what actually takes for the power investment to produce growth. So that means that there's some kind of regulatory policy framework that needs to be tweaked to make sure that the investors or the investment in profit is always treated like different stores. So that you have a 20-year program, right? Like we're adopting some frameworks from India and one time we talked about the first license they got for Mumbai and the guy, 5-year license, right? For them to grow. So that the guy can invest in the first 5-10 years, right? And expect to have some kind of, return on that investment in the next 5 years and the next 10 years, something like that. So you understand, I can tell you that it's just, we must start somewhere. The commission must start somewhere.
This issue of discrimination was also raised at the floor of the House, at the National Assembly, and it really depends on how you look at it. I'm going to flip it. So if you say there's discrimination against the other banks for not getting up to 20 hours supply, then you might also say that there's discrimination against my paying more. So if you want to put lines of discrimination, then you can put it in multiple ways. But I would like to explain the basis behind this service standard. It's not new actually, which comes back to the area of the issue of awareness and customer enlightenment and engagement. This service band has been done since about 2020, where customers were divided into categories based on the energy that the distribution company can reliably supply. So it was not a case of give these people 20, give this 60. No. So the discos were instructed to assess their networks and to determine which customers fall in which of the categories. And the other thing was that it was also to establish a form of fairness, so that if you are getting 20 hours, you pay more than those who are getting fewer hours. So it was a means to ensure some form of equalization, that you who are getting 4 hours and 8 hours should not be paying the same as somebody who is getting 20 hours. So if you have a context, it helps you to understand the rationale and the reasoning behind it. So just as Kanisa said, there is the expectation of the Commission in setting up this service-based tariff is to incentivize the utilities to keep investing. So you invest, as he has said, in Bank A, strengthen the network, ensure that they are receiving reliably 20 hours per day minimum, and you can do it sustainably. The next thing you want to do is to work on your Bank A customers. So they have been receiving 16 hours per day, and the Commission is monitoring it, or will enforce compensation if in favor of the customers if the DISCO is not supplied. But the DISCO, after strengthening its Bank A customers, it will move to Bank B and invest in the network to ensure that it is now able to supply Bank A service. So there is an expectation that there will be a progressive improvement in all of the banks, till everybody is eventually receiving 20 hours of supply. But get ready. So what I mean by get ready is that as you prepare for the hours of supply, please prepare to pay. But the expectation is that at least you'll be metered by then, and so you'll be able to regulate your consumption. I'll share a story with you. I got feedback from I think it was in Kenya, where they started receiving 20 hours of supply. This was even before the tariff hike for Bank A went up. And at that time, when there were some people are calling, so please, this supply is too much. We don't want this much. But of course, those customers maybe are not aware that you can control your regulate your supply. I'm a Bank A customer. When we're going to bed, we switch off the freezer. We go round, yes. So I have my own ways of managing my energy consumption. I do that. I make all my energy saving lights bills in my house. Yes. Nobody will advise me. You would have to advise yourself. Thank you.
Alright, great. So I really do think that this topic is one that if we got into details, we'll start playing disco with the consumers because energy that happened at the consumer level. And then on the disco side, there was also something disco is doing quite correctly. Before we get out of here, I want to ask the panelists one last question. And it's really around the structure of the E-Train going forward. There's a presidential E-Train initiative. There's a fund that America's putting together. From you guys' perspective, and it can be different. Are we moving in the right direction as far as ETAs? Because for me, the last mass E-Train effort in country was LMP 0. 2023, there wasn't a lot of E-Train in the space. So all the initiatives that are coming up, are they actually going to move the dial forward? And then with that, you can give your closing remarks as well.
Thank you. So I will actually start with this. Sometimes the discourse can be out there. So let's just, deregulated the meter price. But I can tell you sincerely, most discourse are not paying attention to the details of the regulation. Okay, we are all focusing on the fact that the prices, anybody can put prices, and most of the discourse have already published in prices. But there are deeper details, like I actually mentioned earlier. You wouldn't expect a disco to meter a customer whose average spending in a month is 5,000 naira with a meter that is 130,000 naira. You won't expect that. That's not business-wise. Nobody will. So, what is interesting is that in this order, meter price related order, right? They have actually told you that you can actually get involved with an electronic meter. There are customers that I don't expect the discos to meter with a smart meter of the calibers we're currently selling. It's not physical, it's not business right. Because in the next 5 years, the total consumption of that customer is not going to pay for the meter. Not to talk of the energy it's consuming, it's not going to pay for it. So it's useless. You can't even try that. So, but I want the discos, and I pray that we all pay close attention to that order and be able to actually follow up with NEMSA and the standard setting, agencies to be able to come up with such standard meters that will help us meter some rural settings, some data because you must get all your customers meters. That's what is necessary. That is what is important. So we must be able to do that. Now coming to the presidential metering initiative, I can tell you. So we had some discussion I think last week on that with the team, and I can tell you that what they put in place is quite fantastic. It's quite interesting. But now you know that it's usually implementation that is our problem here in the country. So I would pray that we get industry experts involved in implementation because we could actually have fantastic designs, plans, and they are all wonderful. But what actually stores or messes up the entire stuff is implementing them. So I'm going to tell you because we had a discussion around which is a major thing in the business metering scheme space, right? Communication. I can tell you that if you depend exclusively on our ISPs, okay, that we know of, the highest communication rate I've actually experienced in the digital space is less than 20%. Yeah, less than 20% communication. Meters, you've made smart, you've enabled them with the SIMs, and you've enabled them with the model, they have everything, they can communicate, right? The communication rate per time is less than 20% for the residential customers. For the industrial customers, I think we have about 25-30% communication rate that those meters speak back end to the AMI system, right? 25%. So, but what is interesting about the PMI, right, is that they are trying to get involved with a communication model that you can, in fact, it's tested currently in India. It's giving you 99.9 communication rate. I can assure you of that. It's already working. India is actually doing a 15 billion military scheme rollout, meter rollout, 50 million meters rollout. So they are on that space and they have actually adopted this technology in terms of communication. So I can tell you that if we actually follow up with them and what we put on ground, what they put on ground is fantastic. It's all about making sure that real industry insiders and experts are involved in this implementation.
Okay, I have one of the MDs I went to he start this every saying, and he said, "How do you eat an elephant?" And he said, "You eat an elephant one piece, one bite at a time." So the little gap is significant, it's huge. 7 million points, 2 million or so meters between gap. How do you close that gap? Which is why I support multiple initiatives from the presidential initiative, the meter acquisition fund, the DISREP program of the World Bank. And so different initiatives are being applied to address this between gap. And so as the regulation of meter pricing. But as Karis has said, implementation is the real deal. How is it going to be implemented? Under the NMFP that was phase 0, when NEC did a review, they found out that some distribution companies were not really installing meters. And that is so disappointing that some distribution companies were far ahead and had deployed these meters. They had put in project management teams, systems and structures to install the meters and for customers. But others had not. So implementation is going to be a real game changer to ensure that all these metering initiatives actually work. So in terms of final words, I would say that this is an interesting time to be in the power sector, and it's good that we have a government that really understands the importance of power as the catalyst for economic development. And so, we continue to support these initiatives like they have put in place, to be able, to close the metering gap and help the power sector get on its feet. I would also like to mention that it's not just about metering. All these initiatives and the investments that are coming in should not only fund meters, but should also be able to fund the metering infrastructure, things that are required to ensure that there is actually end-to-end. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I think to wrap up, what I've seen and what I've heard from this conversation is, while metering is important, it's not the solution that's going to solve all our issues, but it's important to put in place. And then there's issues around customer education and consumer education as well. Because consumers need to understand the sector, understand how energy efficiency works. But I think one issue that's out there is one of the attendees mentioned this around technology, smart meters, putting those in place. There's been several pilots done by a number of different groups around smart meters, and we see that if the situation is set correctly, they actually do work. But we need to ensure that we set them up, because I'm sure you have examples of where smart metering actually did not, because of things were not put in place. So that's not also the silver bullet. We have to do end-to-end assessment and plug all the features we can from a meter at the house, and we can the advanced house not meter, because they'll just run everything through that side of the house. So I think for us as consumers, we all feel the pain. When someone's doing energy, they're not just doing energy and costing themselves, they're actually passing that loss off to you and I. So we as Nigerians and as consumers need to stop and need to support people who are actually selling energy, because we have those challenges. But thank you again for coming. pain to get here. So thank you for coming. Let me have a little blessing for the closing remarks. Blessing.
Thank you so much, for joining us this time of the development. Thank you for joining us. Please have a wonderful evening and see you at the next
Thank you.